the show episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard, and I'll be your host for this evening. And joining me this evening on this episode, which is going to be called Staying In, Making Tea, Not Eating Crisps, and Loving Little Dice, is a gentleman by the name of Sam Turner. So, hi Sam, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks, Richard. Thanks for having me on.
I'm very, very pleased to have you on.
Why are we not eating crisps?
Because I've just had my dinner and I'm on a health kick at the moment, and we've been I've been claiming that I've been carrying holiday weight now for about a year and a half.
Yeah,
So,
no, I know the feeling.
It was some of a holiday and a half, so I decided I did finish most of those prawn cocktail crisps though.
Did you? What did you get? You got these? Is it Seabrook crisps?
Well, the Seabrook ones are automatically gluten free because I've got my wheat intolerance. So
okay.
They've got the gluten free marking on the packet, which means I can eat them anyway.
Oh, buying crisps must be such a sort of Sophie's choice for you.
It's no cheese and onion.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Beef is an issue. Salt and vinegar can be an issue. Wotsits, skips can also be an issue because they all say that it could be made in a factory that contains wheat. Is
this? I don't want to pry too much into your health life.
Let's share, because I don't think I've talked about this. Yeah. Do you know what? We're on episode kind of 13, so this is the point. If we were doing like a sci-fi sitcom type thing, this would be the point where you would do like an Origins episode. So find out how things kind of happen. So yeah, let's touch on the ask away. So
is this intolerance? Is this something you've had since birth?
No.
Okay,
so developed about 15 years ago.
So is there a flavour of crisp or anything else for that matter that you can't have now that you loved? That you look at in the shelves and you just think, I'll take one day of feeling, or a week. Knickknacks. Oh, nice and spicy, or
nice both. The lemon and scampi, and they also had the spare rib flavour. I can't touch any of them. I've always said if they came out with a cure for what I have for celiacs, I would just be going to the bank. I'd be going to the Mr. Bank manager. I shall have a £3,000 overdraft, please. I shall be taking it in cash. And then what I'll do is I'm going to head into the nearest kind of Greg's, wherever, Baines, bakery of your choice, and I shall be lining up that money on the counter, and I shall say, keep it going with the donuts and the pastries until I pass out, please, good sir, or madam, as the case may be.
That would be fantastic.
It's like fudge donuts. You don't actually learn to appreciate a fudge donut until you haven't been able to eat a fudge donut for years.
Oh, wow. That must be. I can't imagine what it would be like, because
it's bread.
Yeah.
You walk up the bread aisle and you realise that kind of thing could hurt you.
Yeah, you think no one's ever thought that way about bread, but now you give me a new perspective.
Yeah, it's just a way of doing life. Anyway, let's dial it back. You are a member of the team, or the it seems to be a myriad of
a rotating door of
hosts and co-hosts that are in the Staying In podcast.
Yes, I am.
Which is a delight to the ears, and as the logo suggests, it's a lovely cup of tea that you tuck into with little gentle sips, and I like it a lot.
Thanks very much.
Yes. Now, we are here to have a little chat about board games as well as autoimmune diseases.
What's your favourite?
What's your favourite autoimmune disease? Oh, I like lupus. The reason that we do this, as we say always, is there's quite simply not enough podcasts out there about board games. There is. And the other thing is there's also simply not enough podcasts with just two people talking.
I'm really upset about this because...
Why?
Because I listened to your show and I thought, okay, you're only two people. And originally you'd asked myself and Chris, or at least Chris, who is another one of the revolving hosts on the Staying In podcast, to come on. And originally he said yes, so I thought, oh, this is going to be brilliant because you can do the intro and say that it's only for two people and go, haha, well, I've brought someone else with me. But Chris forgot that he was meant to be in Munich right now. Yeah. Conveniently. So.
Yeah, so you see that you can't break the rule.
No, you can't.
Though we did break the rule the other day.
No.
There is a podcast coming up that's got 3 people on it. What?
It's out there.
Yes. It's out there. Well, it's been edited. But it's going to be out there soon. And it's going to have 3 people on it. So, world minds will be blown.
It will.
When that episode hits. That's going to be hitting soon, because people are going to go, he's just broken his entire motto. And it's not a motto, it's just an observation. So, board games, card games. You talk a lot on the podcast, on Staying In, about games that you play, and one of the things you recently mentioned was you mentioned Dice Masters, which you had a good discussion about. Now, we have a part of the show called What We Got to the Table. But before we dive into the little 6-sided addiction cubes, which is Dice Masters, have you always been kind of interested in the hobby? I mean, how did you get involved in games? You mentioned Magic as well. You're quite a big Magic player as well. If I'm correct. So how did you get involved in the hobby? Well,
for me, like the hobby's I've only been, and this will just highlight how serious my problems are with the, Dice Masters and Magic, because I've only been playing like sort of serious board games. I don't know what the collective term is, but only for about 18 months.
It's nothing wrong.
No. Before then, I was really would play games that my grandma would have in a cupboard in her house. And so when me and my brother went there and my mum went off to work, like my grandma would just give us the key to this cupboard and we'd open it up and we'd just play what's ever inside. And there was Mikado, which is which I only just found out the other day that me and my brother had actually been playing it wrong for several years. And Screwball Scramble,
which is a classic in its own right, and it's been imitated many times now, but there is only one original.
There is Mousetrap, and Upwards, which along with Mikado, we never played correctly, but knowingly so. We just used I don't know if you're familiar with Upwards, it's like Scrabble, but 3D. But instead of just placing words horizontally, you can also place them vertically, so you can change a word by putting another letter on top of the word.
By putting a tile on top.
But we just used to build like Upwards type like villages and forts using the counters. Never for any sort of linguistic use.
For no benefit.
But then that was kind of it. And since then, I've been kind of more obsessed with video games, and that's been my association with all gaming until about 18 months ago, when for my 29th birthday I got a copy of Settlers of Catan. And it was me and about 8 other friends, and we were just about to go out for my birthday. We were just about to go out bowling, and we just thought, because I had no idea what Catan was, or
I don't think anybody does. When you're getting into this side of things, I think you think it's a dice and it's counters and it's a flat board.
Yeah,
and it is like Neo in the Matrix, kind of. Why do my eyes hurt? Because you've never used them before.
Exactly, and we.
What is this board game stuff? Because you've never played them before. Really.
No, like it wasn't. It wasn't a game that sort of was testing any sort of linguistic skills like Upwards. It wasn't, nothing to do with dexterity like Kaplunk or anything like that. It was, it was almost like this whole new experience. And like we sat down and played it, and we had to like leave in an hour. and only one of us had played it before, and it was my girlfriend's brother who gave me the game as like it was his game that he'd played like every day at university for 3 years, and he gave it to me, and we had the 5 to 7 player expansion, so there were 7 of us, and he was like the bank and the curator, almost like the DM of this horrible little Catan project that he set up. And
the Catan project.
And
it sounds like a 1970s spy.
Starring Michael Caine in the Catan project.
I know.
He'll be the thief.
Yes, a very young Kevin Spacey.
Yeah,
is his first acting role as the newspaper boy. Where are you going? I'm going over here.
Have you got the wood?
I don't like her at all. She's a bit of a pain. Come here. What are you doing, newspaper boy? I'm just gonna go and get some more papers.
The Catan project is the lost Caine film.
You just did it just after Zulu because he was short of the money.
We played it. I don't think we even finished the game, and I think that maybe is what caught me, was the fact that we were having this great time, and there was 8 of us around this tiny table. Like I've only got a dining room table that seats 4, and we were all kind of huddled around this one board. And it's fun when you play Catan for the first time. It's fantastic, isn't it? Like it is genuinely like one of those. So right, I've got cards in my hand. That's fine. I can see the board. That's fine. And then the more you play it, you slowly. But hang on.
There's numbers.
There's numbers, and there's bartering, and there's interactions, and there's different things I can do, and strategies, and ways you can play. And for me, it's that idea of taking on a role, of inhabiting a kind of way of thinking, that's the most interesting thing about playing board games. And from then on, I've just been my bank balance wasn't thankful to me from then on, because from then on I kind of picked up about 3 or 4 of, I don't know what you call the staples. I don't want to talk about a heavy sort of gluten diet to you, but if it was a gluten based diet of board games, which I've now become slightly intolerant to,
it's overexposure.
I went straight out and bought Smash Up.
Smash Up's good.
Ultimate Werewolf.
That is very good.
Munchkin and Pandemic.
Munchkin, I'm not sure about.
No?
I'm not sure about Munchkin. Pandemic, we, as a Wizards, not being a Wizards at all, kind of aren't sure about Pandemic. And we were going to do an episode on Pandemic, and we sat there and went, do you like Pandemic? And I says, well, I don't know. And then Colin says, I'm not sure about Pandemic either. And the first board game I ever played with my kids was Pandemic, and they loved it.
Yeah.
Because usually in a board game, you never lose. Kids' board games are so sanitized now.
Yeah.
Like the kids' version of Monopoly is kind of like, oh, everybody has a party at the end and smiles.
Really?
Kind of it's just totally kind of taking away the competitiveness. So I put, Pandemic on the table, and the kids were, they must have been about maybe 10 and 8 at the time. And I was like, what are we going to do, Dad? We're going to play a board game. So they put it down there, and we played a bit, and I said, so you do this, and then, oh no, look, there's an infection taking place, so there's an outbreak. Okay, what happens now? Nothing. You're dead.
Wow. Yeah.
And they were like, but board games are about, there's a winner, and it's like, not in this game. And that really messed with their mind. Because I never quarterbacked Pandemic, because there's a tendency for people who have played it before to go, right, no, you go to Beijing, and then you go here, and then you go to London, and I'll go to Atlanta, and stuff like that. And they were just like, what, we lost? I was like, yeah, because, we've got all these cubes going everywhere, and there's been outbreak after outbreak, and we've not cured anything, so, it's everything's just gone, it's we've died. Can we play it again? And that was it.
Well, that's exactly, this isn't a comment on the people that I hang out with, but that's exactly what happened when we first played Pandemic. But we realised after about 2 or 3 weeks of trying to beat the game on the easiest setting and not being able to complete it, I suddenly twigged that I read the rules wrong. So we were essentially playing what we then called Samdemic. So the ruling that we got wrong was, you've got the 3 cubes on a city.
Yeah.
And it's when you add a 4th one that it outbreaks.
It spreads to the you get a break to the next surrounding
to the next ones,
cities
the next
or whatever.
ones.
Yeah.
I read that wrong, and we were playing it every time a 3rd cube was added, it outbroke.
That's a lot of difference.
That's
a big difference.
Which makes a game almost impossible to play. But I say almost with a caveat because it gives you just enough leeway to make you think that you can beat it. So we were playing games that you'd either lose in 2 turns or you'd get right to the end and then everything would fall down. So to us playing games, that was like this wonderful seesaw of emotions of, all right, we screwed up there, right, we've lost, right, to the next one. Heads in the game, guys. Heads in the game. So
how long did Samdemic last?
Weeks. Weeks. And it's the only, when we played Samdemic, it's the only time, like when we played it with friends, and it's the only time that my girlfriend's turned to me and gone, can we play Pandemic? And like just me and you, can we do that? Can we try and beat it? Because that feeling of being so close and not getting the win was kind of infectious. And then when I found out that I'd read the rule wrong.
How did you break it to people that all this, for the last couple of weeks? Did you leave like a written note? Or what did you do? Did you put a post-it note inside the folded board and then opened it up, so when they opened it up it went, "I've read the rules wrong," and then just left it?
Guys, I'm really sorry. The strange thing is that I kind of broke it at the start of our next playthrough, and we kind of didn't really think much about it because we just thought, oh well, no wonder we haven't been able to beat it, you idiot.
Ha, silly Sam.
And so just carried on playing with the new rules, and then once you know Pandemic, you can beat it every time, which is why it's quite symptomatic of quarterbacking. Like, I can sit down and play Pandemic, and I can beat it. I can not control, that's the wrong word, but I can move everyone else around the board and beat it.
Yeah,
easily. Once you know how to do it, you know how to do it. And so everyone was kind of like, "Can we play Samdemic again?"
Yeah, because Samdemic was more deadly.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, you want to feel like you're actually fighting something, which is why, like, we introduced like a house rule that you pick your characters at random, so you never know who you're going to be. And I think we are actually going to go back to Samdemic at some point.
See, we picked up, when I played it with the kids, I allowed them to pick what character they wanted because that was how they kind of understood the game. So randomness. But funnily enough, we've never played it really again. The kids have never kind of gone back and went, right, can we play this? Codenames at the moment is the big one that we play all the time. But, so after Pandemic, was there anything else that playing it, obviously talking about the past, so you built up that collection. Did that collection continue to grow? Yeah. It continued to grow quite exponentially within the few months, because I was kind of that's kind of when I was ingesting as much new stuff, because it's a whole new world to me. Like, I didn't know it existed. So I went down, all the usual avenues, Will Wheaton's Tabletop and Shut Up and Sit Down, and a few friends of mine had dabbled in the past. So I was picking up things like Betrayal at the House on the Hill. And I think I even got the Werewolf expansion because we all really loved that. Like, that was great fun. And the Resistance. Really, like, if someone asked me, like, they were getting into board games now, these are exactly the same titles that I'd pass on to them. And because I think they're not only easy games to understand, but their themes and ideas are
quite easy to understand. Like it's easy to pretend that you're a spy hidden amongst a team of resistance fighters. It's easy to pretend that you're fighting a disease.
Yeah. I mean, for those who aren't aware, werewolf is like what you call it's kind of like a hidden game. It's like one of the people is essentially like the werewolf, and everybody else has got to kind of like guess. So it's fairly kind of simple type mechanics, isn't it?
And it's brilliant how quickly a group of friends can suddenly turn on each other.
Yes.
When you play werewolf, which is compared to Resistance, because they're quite similar games, Resistance and Werewolf, and we always found that whereas Resistance is a lot more serious, it also leads it to be quite combative. So you're on your defensive a lot more, and you sometimes find with Resistance that you're always kind of on the defensive rather than trying to like lead a charge, a positive outcome. But because in Werewolf you've got 3 cards in the center that no one knows what they are, the chances that everyone in your group could be a good guy are a lot higher than they are in Resistance. So I think that's why we enjoyed it a lot more, because I think not only is it more likely that people are telling the truth, but the conditions for winning are a lot lower as well. You can like I can't remember the conditions for winning now. It's something like if you can, something like the villagers can survive the night if one werewolf or something like that. They don't have to find all the werewolves, or I can't quite remember. But so it was really kind of me and a group of friends like discovering this whole thing together, and it has been ever since. Like everyone who's on the Staying In podcast has pretty much started like their board gaming life, as it were, exactly at the same time.
Which is good.
Yeah,
because this is the best. I mean, this is one of the. I can't think of a better time where people can get into this hobby, and the choice is just ridiculous.
It's too much.
It is. It is too much. Do you know what it's akin to?
Go on.
And dialing back to what we were talking about earlier on, when I first was diagnosed with having celiac disease, Tesco's had about 2 shelves of gluten-free products. Now, if you go into Tesco's, they've got they've pretty much has half an aisle full of stuff. You can get anything. There's tons. There's stuff you didn't even realise existed. Last week, now we're not affiliated with them, but I picked up some McVitie's chocolate hobnobs, gluten-free ones.
My word!
Do you know what it was like? It was like Christmas of 1981, opening up and realising that I'd got a Millennium Falcon from Santa.
That is incredible. Did it taste how you remembered?
I didn't care. I couldn't tell through the tears.
They're saltier than I remember.
But these are hobnobs, and they still hold up to the dunk. So you can like that. I'm going to put you in and dunk them again and again, and they still hold up. And the chocolate's there. The chocolate's melting on my fingers. Tears of joy in my eyes. I'm munching down in this hobnob, and I was thinking, think of this choice. And this is where we are. We are at the gluten-free chocolate hobnob stage of board games, where that has come to light, and there's so much kind of choice and going to. Obviously, one of the things you've mentioned that you're playing at the moment. I mean, Dice Masters. Oh,
do you really want to know about me and Dice Masters at the moment?
I think it's time. I think the best. And I would say to people, just as a quick aside, go and check out the latest episode of Staying In, because it does talk about Dice Masters, and it is hilarious. The WhatsApp message is hilarious. If you want to recount, I think it's worth retelling.
Well, it was for what was the reason? That was it. I'd pre-ordered. Basically, Eldritch Moon was coming out of Magic, and again, Magic is only a recent thing in my life, and it's something I only share with 2 other friends. And there's Peter as well. He's on the podcast, but he lives in Bristol, so we don't get to play that often. So it's 2 other friends who live in Manchester, where I live, and we play a lot as often as we get together. So my interest in it kind of ebbs and flows depending on how often I'm with those friends. But all of us were really excited for Eldritch Moon coming out. So I was getting ready for Eldritch Moon, pre-ordered a fat pack. I'd got myself an intro deck, but I also wanted to use one of the, I don't know how familiar you are with Eldritch Moon. I'm
not.
Okay. Well, I don't really know what the story is.
Oh, is this the one with the reversible cards?
Yes. So Meld.
Oh yes, because I mentioned it on one of the recent episodes about them freaking everybody out by introducing these reversible cards and thus destroying the entire Magic sleeving industry.
Oh yeah, it did. Like I thought, oh brilliant, there's reversible cards, so I'll get myself some transparent card sleeves. Not realising that, hang on, but then people would know what I've got in my hand. Yeah. And as a side note, me and Pete did a Magic draft at the weekend, and so it makes it like you're trying to draft a reversible card and not have your...
You just can't do it. Magic draft, that is when, for people that don't understand, is that when you're basically building up a deck of cards that you've never used before?
Yeah.
Sometimes you kind of like get almost like a deck, a blind deck that you have to open, and then you build your deck from there. Yeah. Some competitions are run like
it's that. It's a good like level playing field, because it was a little bit tricky for us because there's only two of us, and I think they recommend at least 4 people doing a draft, so you get a good... Yeah. But we just had 3 booster packs each, and like I pick a card from my booster pack, he picks a card from his, and then we swap, and then we do that until all the cards are reduced, and then we kind of have to make a deck from the cards we've got left.
Yeah.
And it was interesting as a kind of experiment. I lost horribly.
You lost, did you?
Yeah. I didn't pay enough attention to my mana flow.
I don't know. That sounds something different. It's like an advert on the TV. Do you have problems with your mana flow?
Well, with one simple patch.
One simple patch.
You can
get reversible cards, and your mana flow will be fine. And you're just like that. What's going on?
But anyway, back to Eldritch Moon, and so they came up with these new meld cards, which is basically 2 different cards in your deck, reverse, and they meld together to make one. And one of them is called a Graph Rat, and the idea is that it melds with Gravediggers, and they become like this mutant sort of Resident Evil 5-esque being, or 4, depending on which game you like previously. And I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to build a rat deck out of these Graph Rats. So I built this deck, the majority of which are rats creatures. Right, okay. That's a beautiful thing about Magic. You know, you have an idea, I'll build a deck out of it. And they've got this one...
I'll build a deck out of land. No.
Someone probably has done that. You probably could. There are cards. If there's a mechanic, then Magic probably made a card that will give... So there's probably is a card somewhere that says if you have X amount of land, you win the game, or X amount of land and you will... like there is a card, I believe, that changes the rules, so you have to play a game of Magic within the game of Magic you're currently playing. Like
Inception.
Yeah. So you could have layers of... So you've got to abandon the game of Magic you're playing, start another one. And there's other mad things, like at a flip of a coin, you win the match on heads, your partner loses on tails. Like, Magic is really weird.
That is just quite weird. So you get these cards there.
So I was making this rat deck, and one of the mechanics of many rats is that they infect, which means that you're poisoning characters. So I thought, right, I'm going to get myself some dice, because if I'm going to be poisoning folk, like, I'm not pen and papering this. They want hard dice. Yeah. And I spent about...
you can just spin them down when...
Yeah,
basically.
Spinning down, that's great. And
spinning down. That's when you move a dice from 5 down to 4. Spinning down.
Something that wasn't actually explained in the Dice Masters rules, So we're like spinning down. Is that like a card move? Anyway.
Yeah.
And so I spent about £6 on dice that night, buying all sorts of stuff just to make sure I had enough. And I sent a WhatsApp group to the guys and I said, no, I just spent £6 on dice. Someone really needs to like
just look after my life.
Just look after my life. Just please. I need to start filtering these decisions through someone because it's only going to get worse. They were just D12s and D6s, and I know out there.
Yeah, but you get the whole danger of things like resin counters as well. I mean, you've got that kind of danger there.
Oh, those like the Final Fantasy, not Final Fantasy, Fantasy Flight little bags that you can get.
Yeah, you get bags for like everything. You know, the entire X-Wing series of games you can buy like resin counters. I'm playing a bit of Dungeon Saga at the moment, and I've got resin counters for that. And it's just plastic versions of the normal cardboard counters. But
it's so
you
nice.
can go into so many different levels with these things. Little collector's boxes and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a scary, scary time. So, you bought your £6 off
and so I was very aware that that I imposed this spending embargo on myself, and then I listened to your podcast and you started talking about Dice Masters, and I was like, Dice so Masters,
it's our fault, man.
And I thought, I like dice, and you didn't even talk about it that much. You just kind of mentioned that, about you were playing Dice Masters, or it was a fun game, and I just thought, hang on.
Yeah, it was. The issue that we had is nobody else was really into playing it.
All right, okay.
And because nobody else was into playing it at the time, there was one other guy that was playing it, but he got the Dungeons and Dragons Dice Masters, which is very, very strange, but it's just full of dragons, basically, and it's about you fighting like that. But sometimes people just, they don't necessarily want to try a thing if they like it, or people compare it to, they go, oh, was it like compared to Magic? Because I've got Magic with me this evening. It's like, well, it's not, it's good fun.
Yeah. There's lots of of similarities to Magic, but
yeah, there is. But so how many? You got the starter set, obviously, but you mentioned. I mean, obviously, you were mentioning. You mentioned that you'd got the DC set.
Yeah, the world's finest. It's called for some weird reason. I don't know.
Because they've released a whole pile of these. Because you get Age of Ultron, you get the original Marvel Dice Masters. Yeah. They're going down kind of different.
Doctor Strange coming soon.
Well, of course, because it's tying into the film. I'm surprised there's not a Star Wars one, but I think Fantasy Flight are doing their own version of a kind of a yes. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. I didn't say that. I'm gonna edit that out and then just go.
Yeah.
It was just a dream. There's no Star Wars dice. I'm just gonna leave it out like that. So we'll cut that.
Okay. And no, I don't need any more dice in my life.
No,
I've got enough.
No, you don't. No, you've got plenty. But how many dice do you have?
Well, I got the.
Have you taken to buying them and then like kind of keeping them in the jacket pocket until nobody's about, and then you can open them and then sneak them into your collection?
Pretty much. Well, the boosters, yeah.
Have you got a proper box to hold?
No, I don't. Not yet. I've got a. I've kept.
You're browsing though, aren't you?
I know. I looked at those velvet dice bags in Forbidden Planet the other day, and I was like, no.
Are you just using the paper ones that came with the original set?
Yeah. I've been very responsible, Richard. Like, this is a new me, turning over a new leaf.
No more just off the cuff spending. Paper bags are good enough. If they're good enough for my family, then they're good enough for me, kind of thing.
If I rip them, I'll just get some of those Happy Shopper ones from the.
Well, I mean, obviously, you could always take an EasyJet flight and just nick to this, just go under the seat, the sides bit, and nick to the section.
Just like Dice Masters scrawled on the side.
Instead. Yeah, just write it in crayon. Nobody's going to notice. And put like a little sign on it as well. It would be absolutely fantastic. So just do that. So anyway, how many dice do you have?
I don't know. I really don't know at this point. So the start. I can't even. What does a starter deck come with? I've got like the starter deck.
I think it comes with about. I think there's a fair number in them. I think there's about 60. Is it 60?
Yeah, I think.
Maybe it's not that many. I think there's about.
Hang
60.
on, I could probably tell you. So I
don't know because we don't want to put a number on it.
I could put a number on it, and because I bought 5 of the Civil War, so that's 10. Okay, and then Chris took a joke that I made about how if he comes to visit me in Manchester, he has to bring Dice Master boosters as a payment. So he bought 5.
Whoa, okay.
That's another 10. And then I bought another 5 when I went to go and get a comic. But this
is like some kind of AA meeting.
But the store clerk actually accidentally sold me 6.
You didn't go, now I'm paying for cash, so I'm taking this one.
It's like finding a vodka miniature.
I'm going to take this one anyway. Okay? I'm just taking this one. Put it in my pocket.
And then I bought another 2, I think. No, at least another 5 on top of that. So at least another 30 or 40 dice I've added to the...
So you're approaching 100.
Yeah.
Then. That's pretty good going.
And it's I don't know, what's a bad number for dice? When do I know it's gone too far?
I think for Dice Masters, it's going too far when you're searching for eBay for the rarer cards, and you look at what is essentially 2 dice and a card, or people just sell the cards by themselves, and you're looking at a piece of card, and you're seeing a number of, say, £35 next to that card, and you're justifying it in your head.
See, I've been able to resist that with Magic. I think the most I've ever spent on a Magic card is about £6,
which is good. I would keep it at that level. I think any more then. I think once you get over 6, then you're heading to 7, and then you're easily justifying 10.
Yeah,
because you're rounding it up.
And I think
it's 7 to 10. Nothing.
I actually think that it's a fact that you're relying on the dice that puts me off buying more, because if it was just cards, then I'd probably be buying more boosters. But it's a fact that the cards are useless without the dice. Yeah. So really, I'd much rather have. So at the moment, I've got a collection where I could happily pick and choose about 8 characters, and maybe some of them have got 2 or 3 dice, but the majority have got 1. But the fact is that at the moment, I'm the only one who's collecting, so my opponent's only going to have that same sort of choice. So it's pretty even. And currently, every game of Dice Masters I've played, I've been introducing it to someone else. So we've always been playing the demo mode, which is part of the terrible rule book that's supplied in the starter deck.
Oh, that rule book. Oh, whiz kids, have a word with yourself.
It's awful.
I mean, thank goodness for Rodney Smith. That's all I'll say. Good old Rodney and his Watch It Played.
Is that his name?
I think, yeah.
Oh, Rodney.
Yeah. Rodney, we like you.
He's
so cheery when he comes.
Until I watched 20 minutes of him trying to explain Scythe, and I thought, that's
the danger with Rodney Smith is, and Watch It Played, is it's not the video that you're watching that you're looking for the explanation. It's the next video that comes up, and you end up watching it and going, "Wow, this looks really good.
Yeah,
where can I find?" And I should maybe get it, because after watching this video, I certainly know how to play it.
And that's part of the hurdle.
That is, you're just building yourself into a circle. It's like a snake eating its own tail. That's where you're going with that. To explain to people, because one of the things we do at We're Not Wizards is we like to make things people are going to be Dice Masters. What is that? Dice Masters is essentially like it's almost like gaining resources in order to be able to fight your opponent and reduce their health. Your opponents, everybody starts with 20 health, and you also start with a certain number of dice. Now, based on you rolling dice, it gives you resources which allow you to buy cards and therefore the dice that come along with these cards. And then and it's a self-perpetuating. The more dice you have, the more power you have, the more moves you can pull off, and you can essentially, it allows you to field kind of heroes. And in the cases of DC, that could be your Batmans, your Supermans, your Flashes of this world, and Marvel, it could be the Thor, the Spider-Mans, and everything like that of this world. And your idea is that you field your heroes and you go through a simple I'm stronger than you elimination, and you break through their line in the hope that you can hurt the other player, because the other player isn't a DC or Marvel or whatever character. The other player is essentially you, and you have 20 health points, and your various Marvel and DC heroes are there to stop other people from hurting you, kind of knocking down your health points. I know some people have come against it because they say, well, it's a lot of luck. I know some people that have peeled away the strategy like an onion and are absolutely deadly when it comes to playing it, because they know exactly when to hold back. They know exactly when to get a character. If a character gets knocked out, they go into one place. If a character gets used up, then they go back into a bag. So they build up a little strategy. And the next thing you know, they've got like these little single pawns, the guys that have only got one hit. And they're laying 6 of them up against you, and there's nothing you can do about it because you've got. That's just
sorry to interrupt, but that's what I like. With Magic, you feel shortchanged from the first sort of 2 or 3 turns. If you're not matching what the other person's pulling, then it's a very demoralising kind of feeling. Like was it John Gilmore who was talking about his Magic experience, and he just wasn't getting the cards he wanted.
Yeah, he said that his story was he was doing a blind draft, and he ended up pulling. His rare was like land. A foil land.
And the thing is, with Magic, you very early on, you're picking one card up at a time, and if it's not what you need, then you're dead in the water. Whereas with Dice Masters, that luck can be, you're sort of the generator of that luck. So you're buying the dice and you're putting those dice into essentially your deck, into your hand. But your strategy around which dice you're buying, so like action dice are slightly cheaper than character dice to buy, so you can increase your chances of what you're drawing by choosing how to spend the energy in the early rounds, which is why I think you are relying on luck, but you're kind of the master of your own luck in that regards, depending on how you want to gamble.
How you spend your energy, it could be simply that, it's a case of, am I saving up for an Iron Man here, or am I going to be buying this power that allows me to have one extra hit when I do manage to break through the defences. And that can be the difference between you beating somebody by 5 life points and basically losing because they've got pretty much a blockable guy that can't gonna go through. It's fun. It's, as I say, it's a lot of fun. I think that one of the things that we had, or we raised when we spoke about it so many episodes ago, was the collectible nature of it. Was because it was blind packs that you were never ever 100% sure that you could go out and you could spend £70 on foil pack. I'm not saying you should.
Please don't.
No, but you could go out and spend that type of money on it, and you could end up hitting the jackpot and ending up with a whole load of rares and super rares and only a couple of normal cards. Or you could spend that type of money and just have like Spider-Man all the way through. So in that case, I think that kind of put a few people off, because then you've got to think, well, how often are they putting out these rare cards then? Is it just encouraging me to kind of buy more? But as a game...
I was going to say, I think my idea around that is kind of... Because I really like the game, and I like the mechanics, and I think that the people that I play it with really like it too. So what my idea about buying boosters and getting a sort of semi-collection going is going to get to a point where I probably make 2 or 3 or 4 collections of dice and cards, and so use a bit of like my experience in Magic and have like an aggro deck, a really aggressive one, a really defensive one. So when when I'm playing with my friends, I'm in a position to go, right, do you want to, you choose which deck you want to play with and which collection of cards. So
exactly.
I'm kind of trying to, by buying the boosters and sort of building collection that way, I'm trying to bypass the collective aspect of it in a way, by kind of at the end of the day I'll have a completed almost game. So you'll be able to
play it. The whole point of the game is you can buy the starter pack and you can have a really really good time. It's not a case you have to go out and buy so many boosters in order to be
no.
I mean, it's not. It's a self-contained game like, say, Netrunner. You can play Netrunner quite happily until the cows come home. It's only if you want to maybe expand your strategy, or you're maybe taking it a bit more seriously, that you want to go out and buy the
definitely. And with just a word of warning about the world's finest starter deck is that, and Dan, another Staying In podcast fellow, felt very shortchanged, because it gives you this sort of, it's the first time you played it he gives you a demo setup of what cards to use and what characters to pick. And so I gave myself Batman and Catwoman, and he was left with Steel and Crypto the Super Dog, and he was like, hang on 1 minute. I feel very shortchanged by this.
Yeah, this isn't fair.
No.
Oh, it's okay. It's a first game.
Yeah,
I'll go easy on
don't
you.
worry about
Batarang.
it.
Batarang.
But what's great about Dice Masters is because there is that element of luck and strategy. Like, it was a very, very even game, and
and it's just really good fun.
Yes.
And it's not a case that, I mean, once you learn to play it, it can be, you can have very, very kind of even matched kind of games. Well, basically, and it can be good fun with that. A little learning, it's very easy to pick up.
Yes.
It retails for about £20, and the booster packs, as far as I can see, are about like between 99p up to £2, I think.
£2?
Where you go?
Really?
Yeah.
I if you do a bit of shopping, I think you can get a starter set for about £13. Oh. If it's one of the later, I think the Forbidden Planet were at least selling the Dungeons and Dragon ones for about £13, and I picked up the World's Finest for about £17.
That's pretty good.
I don't think I've seen a booster over £1 yet, so.
Well, that's good. Well, it depends, I guess, where you were going at the time, but I guess we were picking them up we'd got them at the very, very beginning when it was just Marvel, and it was nothing else, and they were a bit more expensive there. So that's kind of obviously one of the main things you've been playing. You've been talking about Magic. One of the things we talk about is obviously getting them off the shelf.
Yes.
So is there anything at the moment that you have been coveting a bit, that you've been thinking, apart from obviously breaking into Wisconsin and running away over the hills with like a trailer full of boosters? Is there anything that you've particularly seen that you'd like to play?
Loads. Well, I can share with you my Amazon wish list if you really want.
I'll tell you what, we'll put it in the show notes.
Brilliant. Well, if anyone wants to buy me anything, I'm very very welcome. But
when's your birthday? What month's your birthday?
It's in March, so you got plenty of time to save up.
You should have said September.
Yes, I should have done. Ooh. Even though I have just gone on Amazon and Carcassonne has dropped to below £19.
Really?
So that's quite. I always thought it would go below 20, so that's tempting. Anyway,
that's a game that I've played on. That's a game that I've played on mobile versions, but never played in real life.
Yeah, I've never played it either, but it's kind of always held up as one of those, sort of
10 games to game. 10 games to play before you die. Kind of thing. So that's always on the list.
So that's kind of one game I've coveted. Sort of other things on there at the moment. Mysterium.
Which is brilliant, which you have to play, even though Colin thinks I hate it. It's really good.
Yeah.
Play it. It's Colin, every time I mention Mysterium, even if I said, did you watch Columbo, there was a bit of a mystery. You hated that game. Even if I'm trying to say the word mystery.
Yeah.
Or I missed the British Bake Off. Kind of thing. Mysterium's good fun.
No,
Anything
I
else?
think generally when it comes to board games that I want to buy, it kind of, because I don't go to like a regular board game evening, or we don't really have a regular time that all my mates meet up and play. The games that I'm buying or the games that I'm sort of coveting kind of fit into what our moods are around that sort of time. So at the moment, we're kind of, our group are moving a lot more towards sort of RPG-esque kind of games. So we played Dread at the weekend.
How'd that? Well, I'll leave that because obviously you'll want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But did it go well?
It went really well. Yeah.
Good.
Just briefly, I mean, we talked about it on Staying podcast.
You did.
And the results of what happened are going to be on the latest podcast, so I won't ruin what happened. But
No. I think, this is a time to say if Dread's an RPG, Dread's a Jenga RPG.
Yes, it's incredible because I've always wanted to do pen and paper RPG, and it's not that I don't find Dungeons and Dragons as a sort of as a framework off-putting. It's just the time, and if I play Dungeons and Dragons, I want to play it every night, once a week. I'd kind of want that sort of, next time on Dungeons and Dragons, previously I'd want that kind of flow to the game. Which is why Dread's appealed to us, because we all live in different areas of the country. We don't get together that often. So
No.
Dread,
Except for the hill climb.
yes, which we didn't do actually.
You didn't do. Oh, well, you're ruining it now.
Oh, sorry, that's a spoiler. Sorry.
You're gonna just. It's all right. We'll put spoilers in the episode. Please be aware that this episode contains mild spoilers about what Staying in podcast has been up to. We'll put that in at the beginning.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, make sure. Yeah.
Make sure, because Peter sounds like there could be the wrath of Peter Wellington. Sounds like it could be a horrific thing to be.
Yeah, all that training he's been doing and
trampolining.
Well, you talk about trampoline. Oh, you're gonna have so much fun on the next episode. I wasn't on the last episode, so this is a conversation that I was meant to be having. So I was.
All right.
Anyway, so Dread is a brilliant sort of condensed D&D experience, because you're playing with Jenga, which means that the game's only going to last for as long as the tower lasts, and the construction of the story is very minimal as well. So it's about a 3-act story, and you unlike with Dungeons and Dragons, where there's quite a lot of flexibility in the dice rolls and there's a bit of pushing and pulling that the DM can do to keep you alive or to kill you off. When the tower falls in Dread, that's it, you're dead, or there's some finality to it. So as a game, it was kind of, we knew that we could sit down in an evening, have a beginning, middle and end, and get it done. So we've really, as a group, we've gone from the kind of European games to the sort of, I don't know what kind of games you'd call them, but like the Jamaicas and the Pandemic, so it's kind of, and the Forbidden Island and Forbidden Desert, those kind of,
they're almost semi-gateway.
Yeah.
They're not entirely gateway, because they're moving into starting to need some strategy, but it is something you could, if you had kind of like-minded friends, you could take out after the after dinner and say, shall we play this? It's quite simple. Yeah. So so you can tell we're kind of still like new to this in a way, but more and more things like Descent are getting sort of, we're speaking about playing things like Descent and what else? And Descent's a mini Descent is a mini RPG. I mean, it's miniature RPG, and it takes commitment and time. That's what it requires.
Yeah.
Especially for a campaign. Good game, but this is one of those games where you say, next 6 weeks, every Thursday, Descent in my house.
Okay.
It can do that. It's kind of, because it starts off, it's quite good to learn, and it's really, really good fun. But it like a lot of these games, it kind of needs a bit of commitment to get the kind of the best out of it. we mentioned Catacombs.
Well, now that's on my list of a game
Yes,
that I would.
It has to be. On
But
your
it's so
list.
difficult to get a copy.
That will change in the next kind of 4 or 5 months because the new Kickstarter has been out, and that it'll become an awful lot more easy.
Really?
Because they're reprinting.
Oh,
it,
brilliant!
basically.
Well,
and if there's I don't know, it might be the case, but you might be able to still go and do a late backing on Kickstarter.
okay.
That shouldn't be
Shall I?
distracting.
I'm typing away now.
Typing
Sorry,
away.
this is
There's the Foley.
Catacombs is
Catacombs.
because
Elsa Games.
not
They started following us on Twitter. It was made up. It was like that. Got the little notification. Elsa Games is following you. Are they?
brilliant. So is it Catacombs and Castles? Is this
Yes, Catacombs and Castles, I think. Yeah.
sign up to be a late backer? Well, I'll have a look at that later on.
What have I done? I'm such an enabler.
See, this is my mind. See, without me being able to filter this decision through someone, you're
I've just put a little box in front of you that says buy now. I'm like Walter White. Oh my goodness, what have I done? Oh.
Yeah, Catacombs is one of those that because we haven't actually got any. Me and Chris, we kind of have a shared board game collection because he lives in Liverpool, I live in Manchester. So if I
Fairly close.
I want to borrow something, I'll bring it. I'll ask him to bring it over, and I'll keep it, and vice versa. So we never buy the same game twice, and we kind of buy stuff that we're both sort of that'd be a nice game to play. I'll buy this one, and then you can come over and play it. And because of that reason, we went through a period of buying lots of 2-player games, and having lots of fun with that. And I bought Ogre, the Pocket Edition, about 4 or 5 months, still not played it.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we do the podcast, is because it forces us to play games. We say, right, we're going to play this game, and it's a game that's maybe been sitting on the shelf, either in at Colin's or at mine, or sometimes at Mr. Leo's house, because that's why we ended up playing Mysterium, because that was his, and also Whitechapel. And it is basically, we're using this as retail as therapy to help us get over the large numbers of board games that have ended up in the kind of the collection, to make sure we play them. And sometimes we'll just pick random ones that we're not sure about, and sometimes it'll be games that we definitely kind of want to play.
Yeah.
The thing what we said, I think, about Catacombs was that you can play it in an evening and you can get all the way through it, and it's dexterity, so there's no dice, and it's just really, really good fun. And I was always surprised that when it funded, it didn't fund an awful lot more than what it did at the time. But Colin's got Catacombs already, and it's so good.
Don't say that to me. I'm putting you my. I'm not even going to wait till this is finished. Hang on a second. Just putting in my email.
Here we go.
Subscribe to.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
I'll be notified when I come back the campaign as a late backer. There we go.
Boom. There you go. We'll see what
Done.
happens. Of course, it might be too late, and then you'll be stuck, and then I'll be able to sleep in my bed at night, knowing that I've not taken you down a path that you shouldn't go.
When we catch up in a year and I'm homeless and everything's gone, I'm just
turn up on my doorstep with a handful of dice masters, saying, "I've been trading them in like John Candy and playing trains and automobiles like he did with the shower curtain rings, tricking teenagers into thinking that they're earrings, and persuading people they were handy little doorstops if they put them in the hinge bit." And I'll be like that. "Why don't you go home, Sam?" And you'll be like that. "I don't have a home.
It's gone. It's gone."
Speaking of Kickstarter, do you back? Have you partaken? Because that's the kind of, I guess, that is when you're fully fledged. There's 4 stages of the board gamer. There is the entry level after dinner mint board gamer.
Okay.
There is the taking it into the main course and getting into, and then there's the fully fledged hardcore, double sleeving everything gamer, and then there's the guys that go, actually, the games that exist aren't enough. I need to get involved with games that technically don't exist but do exist.
I've backed 2 projects.
Okay.
And so the first one I backed was, and let me get the name of this right, because it's a pretty strange name. It doesn't make grammatical sense, but I'm sure there's some reason behind it. It's called Election of US America Elections. So I think it's part of what will be a series. Okay. And it's a joint effort between Wonket and Auroch Digital. Now,
I know that name.
So Auroch, and full disclosure, Pete, who's on the podcast, is a producer at Auroch.
Yeah. So
as part of the Kickstarter, he put a call out to us and says, guys, I'm making this game. If you want to back it, it's $14 or $10 or whatever it was. And to show support to Peter, I decided to back it for him, basically. So I have no idea what the game is like. I know it's a card game based around the US elections. I know you essentially take on a candidate. So you can be Clinton, Trump. You can even be Bernie Sanders.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
I think you can also be Cthulhu.
Oh, I've seen. Yeah, I'm sure I looked at this, and there was a stretch goal, I think, to be Cthulhu. Or
to be Cthulhu,
one of the main characters.
Yeah.
Gotta wonder if you would do any better. You going to build a wall? No, I'm not going to build a wall. I'm going to curse you all in blood.
There's Pandemic Cthulhu's coming out soon.
I've heard of this, and I don't know. Yeah, there's part of me that says yes, and there's part of me that says, is it enough of a change in Pandemic that somebody isn't going to just quarterback all the way through again? It's the same. It's the same issue, isn't it?
That's why you've got to play Pandemic Legacy, and we'll come back to Kickstarter in a second, because we, along the sort of, we're moving into more sort of RPG element gameplay. Yeah. Me and Chris went halves on a copy of Pandemic Legacy Season 1.
Yeah.
And my God, that's such a good game. Because it's obviously a legacy game is, along with Risk Legacy, the idea is that the game evolves and adapts to not only the way you play, but
how bad you play, or how well
or how bad you play, or how good you play, or what's happening, and it evolves not only organically but also programmed wise. So there's stuff that definitely happens to everyone, and and there's stuff that happens organically or compared to the mistakes that you're making or the great things that you're doing. And we absolutely love it. I mean, we're only 2 months into what is essentially a 12-month campaign, but you get this massive box, and not even half, like 3/4 of the box is undercover. You have no idea and to someone like me, that's what's in the box. Going back to 7, it's a very circular conversation that we're.
You weren't just like a kind of a. It wasn't like a kind of. When you were younger, were you opening up your chocolate advent calendar kind of like a day ahead? Is that what you did?
I don't know, because when I was younger, we weren't allowed chocolate advent calendars. We had very strict Christian. You'll get a picture of an apostle and a star, and that'll be it.
I don't like it. Don't know what you're complaining about. I know you got a sheep. Your brother, he got the hill with a stable on it. You'd be grateful for that. What did you get? It's the 20th. It's the 20th. I'm getting the star, Dad. That's good. Johnny down the road, he's got a Mars bar one. He gets a Mars bar one, but you get Kinder Egg ones.
Can you?
Yeah, you probably can.
My word.
But you get Star Wars Lego ones, don't you?
My God. Like now, I get chocolate ones.
You can get Star Wars Lego ones. You
2 years ago.
Calendar.
2 years ago, me and my girlfriend had 4 chocolate advent calendars. And
She's rebelling.
I think that's just like part of me, like my subconscious going, well, now I'm going to eat all the
I'm just gonna
chocolate.
eat
Thanks,
all
Mum.
the chocolate. Here you go, Mum. Mum, look what I'm doing. I'm just opening up the advent calendar. Look, there was day 17. I know it's like the 12th, but the 17th. Here we go. Oh, look, there's the 5th. Oh, I'm not even opening them up in order. Is there any pictures of anybody? Yes, look, there's a Shaun the Sheep behind that one. And
It's
the next
great.
one is Optimus Prime with a beard.
But you're not allowed to do any of that in Pandemic. So it's like being a child again, Pandemic Legacy.
Is there any chocolate in Pandemic Legacy?
I don't know.
Then
It could be.
It
It could be a chocolate
Wouldn't
box.
that be brilliant? If
You don't know.
opened
Just
it
like,
up?
you lost this round, so have a snack.
The worst one would be, this is for people with nut allergies, and you open it up and it's a Snickers.
Here's a real pandemic.
That would be the ultimate pandemic, wouldn't it? You open it up, you go, can't touch that. Oh, look, quick, look. Mark's swelled up like a balloon. Where's his pen? Where's his pen?
It is. Pandemic Legacy is kind of, for us anyway, it's because it changes and evolves and you're kind of like writing things on pieces of paper and you're kind of making marks on cards and you like turn over at each time every month starts, because the idea is you play it over 12 months. If you win, you move on to the next month. If you lose, you stay on that month, and it's like a rewind feature. Yeah. But if you lose for the second time, you move automatically on to the next month.
But your skills and things like that become either very worse or become you're not as good. You kind of on the losing side.
And I think
And
I think and I think one of the things that's programmed into the actual sort of script or code, I guess, of the game from the start is that immediately when you begin, one of the diseases becomes incurable. So immediately you're not playing Pandemic anymore. You're playing a different game, and you get introduced to new mechanics because you can't treat it. You can't remove cubes off the board. So therefore you're having to like quarantine areas now. So you get a whole new action. You get a whole new set of mechanics. You open a box, there's whole new tokens in there. You've got a sticker that you open up and you put into your rule book. So you've got a whole new rule there to follow. Like, it's just
because we had the Gary Butterfield on a couple of episodes ago, and he talked about it and talked very highly. I've not had anyone that said I don't like it. I've also not had anyone that says, "Oh, I'm messing up a board game here. This is a terrible thing to happen." So,
but I like that freedom that you can sort of desecrate something that has been precious.
Can you imagine going over to somebody's Magic deck and saying, "We're playing Magic Legacy now."
pull out a marker pen, right? That rule doesn't count. No, don't like him. No, sorry, he's got to go.
Him. No, he's got 500 mana.
But it's with Pandemic Legacy, and I don't want to go over old ground that you may have covered in a previous show.
No, you're not at all.
But,
not at all,
but
because
there's wonderful, and again from where I've come from, like playing video games a lot as a kid, there's a lot of that which comes in to it. So when you introduce new characters, you've got a little sticker book of relationships, so you can assign what happens when those two characters say meet in a certain location and the relationship between them two. And characters can also descend into madness and break down if they witness too many horrors. And I like those lasting sort of video game effects from it. And I think that you spoke about it on one of your podcasts of how, and I think this kind of hit a button in me. The reason why I'm like really into board games now is the fact that video games are kind of becoming more of where they were a group experience, and during university and before then I was spending
Super Mario Kart.
All my nights spending Super Mario Kart, Double Dash, the best of the bunch, and Super Smash Brothers and GoldenEye, and it was video games was that big sort of communal experience, and you were sharing this one singular thing, and now it's getting more and more individual. And if I want to play with, like, the easiest way for me to play with Chris, who lives half hour down the road from me, is to go online. I'll sit on my own in his house, he sits on his own in his house, and we play Rainbow Six Siege or something like that. And I'm playing it and I think, this is ridiculous. And so board games have kind of brought that local couch co-op thing back that video games have kind of put by the wayside.
Well, there's people that come to the club that they'll play a game for an hour. They'll have a couple of games of Magic, and then they spend the rest of the time just catching up with everybody else. How's your week been and stuff like that. You kind of get that if you're regularly playing and you have like a lobby on PlayStation or something like that, and you can jump into the party chat. But you kind of don't get that. It's just different. Which I keep saying that this is why I'm kind of getting much more into the board game space than the video game space. Just the communities and stuff like that seem to be very, 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 very welcoming, which is good.
Not to keep on harping on about him, but Chris and I recently finished playing Lara Croft in the Temple of Osiris, which is a terrible isometric shooter on PlayStation 4. And so we finished it and we're kind of like, right, what's next? And we can't find anything. Hardly anything unless it's Destiny or Resident Evil 6 or Overwatch or something. Like we can't find anything that gives us a 2-player campaign or a specific 2-player experience. Like we've got to go where the market goes. Whereas with board games, if it's just me and him, we can go right. We can play Lost Cities or The Duke or Netrunner or Magic or Dice Masters, and it's kind of like, what mood are we in? We'll pick and choose. Whereas with games now, it's kind of, well, even if I'm not in the mood for a survival horror trudging around a zombie game, it's the only one we got. So
we might as well play it. Yeah, it's a bit of a sad case. So you mentioned obviously the election, presidential election of the election.
We're getting very sidetracked, aren't we?
That's not. I mean, it's not like we have a format. I actually appreciate the fact that you, unlike everybody else that's guested on here, the show notes are relatively clean. Normally they're filled with all different types of words, which I can't. Some of them I have to look up.
Oh, I didn't know I had to actually fill that in.
No, you didn't.
All right, okay.
Fine.
Oh.
It's all good. It just gives us a large structure. But I've had some people on here that have just filled it with filth.
Well, if you listen to the Staying In pod, then it's it's kind of just we just chat, and there's a loose structure somewhere. But other than that, it's
a good.
So the other thing I backed was I did used to go to, when I actually lived in the centre of Manchester, I did actually used to go to something called Tabletop Manchester, which is run by a guy called Mike Rose from Tiny Build Games.
Oh yeah,
and
the name rings a bell.
Yeah, and that's every Monday night, and we kind of went there, and it's kind of a weird experience when you go to, and I don't know what it's like for you, because do you run a club or?
No, I attend the club, which is called Dwarf.
Yeah.
And I don't run it, but I've been there for I've been going for about 2 years now.
Now
I could check the time, and yeah.
I don't know what your perspective on this is, because obviously I've not even been playing board games for 2 years. So we kind of rocked up to this board game club, and I had Munchkin and Smash Up in my bag, all enthusiastically, this is going to be great. And you step in and everyone's playing X-Wing or what's the other one? What's the really long sort of space station one?
Well, there's Armada and
yes.
There's things like Rex, and there's also...
Yeah, everyone was kind of... Or they were doing D&D stuff, or they're playing Blood Rage, and we were kind of
Blood Rage.
I mean all right, okay, so where do we fit in to all this? So we just kind of find a table to ourselves and just play on our own. And that was fine, because it was a space for us to play. And have a few beers and have a few laugh and speak to a few people around it. But because we had,
you might as well go into the Zifferblatt.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know how it is from your perspective that we found it quite hard to penetrate that.
I'm quite shallow and self-centered and loud and obnoxious. So I also walked in with a couple of board games and went, "All right, people, guess what? Your lives have just improved. I've arrived." And then just threw the board games on the table, and then that was it. And then I just said, "What's your name?" And he went, "Colin." And I went, "Do you want to play a board game with me?" He says, "Do I have a choice?" I went, "Not really, good friend. Sit down." I think it was different it was different in the club that I went to, because I turned up and there was a kind of little chit chat, and I did have a couple of games with me, and I said, "Does somebody want to play?" And it kind of worked out like that. I think but they've always been quite welcoming. Whenever there's been new people.
I'm not saying that it wasn't welcoming, because the guys are really great, and I actually ended up doing some playtesting there for a friend of mine who works with Osprey Games, and and they were great, because I was able to go on the Facebook page and say, "I've got this game I need to playtest." They want to see how far it stretches over 6 or 7 players. Is anyone up for this? And everyone was just sort of jumped on me and was kind of like, this is brilliant. And we sat down, and then after we played that, we played another game and another game, and it was just the fact that it's just little things like we turned up, and this kind of shows you how sort of anal I am. Like, we turned up, and socially awkward. We turned up like, this starts at 7:00, so we'll get there for 7:00, and we went up the stairs. Ironically, it was in a place called The Wharf, which sounds like the wharf, but.
I'll let you have that one, because if you move the H's there, you're fine.
And like, people had already started playing. Like, they were already like halfway through a game of Imperium, or so it was kind of like there was already like a rhythm to it. There was a pattern to how the people who've been going for a while acted, almost. I don't know.
What it is that for some games it can be incredibly difficult to pin people down to get a game of a certain time, because it's a hobby. I mean, we were playing, this happened to us recently. We were playing Time Stories, and then I went away for a week, and then the guy that was running it went away for a week, and then somebody else couldn't make it another week, so we ended up kind of not being able to play it for 3, almost 4 weeks, and you kind of lost the momentum in there. So sometimes when you're running a campaign, you're just kind of running the campaign.
Yeah.
So I don't think people are kind of going, "Oh, I'm not kind of interested." I think what's happened is they have just so far spent the entire week on Facebook Messenger, on Skype, texting and emailing people saying, "Right, I need 4 this week to play Rex. Who's turning up then?" Or Colin experienced this with Frostgrave, that they were looking for a lot more people to play Frostgrave, which is like a skirmish game which we talked about, and there wasn't that many people that were interested, and because of that, and because of organising stuff, it eventually kind of faded into the background. So sometimes it can be like like that, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it was kind of, for us, it was kind of like something new that we were excited in at the time, and you walk into a room and everyone's already like invested in it a lot more than you are.
Yeah.
I think it's quite easy to sort of feel a little bit out of place or with it. I don't know. But anyway, it was at this event, sort of this board game club, and we were getting along, and we were sort of playing, I think, King of Tokyo or something like that.
Yeah.
And this guy came over to us and was just like, "I'm designing this game. Would you like to playtest it for us?" And we were like, "Yeah, brilliant." And it was Tabletop Assassins. No, right. Temp Worker Assassins.
Temp Worker Assassins. That's Dave Newton.
Yes. There we go.
You met Dave Newton.
I met Dave Newton. Yeah.
Yeah, we had we spoke about Temp Work Assassins a couple of. The last time, I think me and Colin did an episode together, because I spoke to Dave, and I said to Dave, because me and Dave had a quick conversation. There's a tabletop Kickstarter group on Facebook, and I sometimes go
that's something I don't need to know about.
You don't need to know about that. But I went in there and just said, "Oh, listen to Media Podcast. and I'm interested, obviously, in helping the UK Kickstarter scenes, which is why a lot of the games that we've spoken about recently on episodes have been, some of them have been kind of UK based, because we like to kind of like shout out where we can, because the American market seems to be so big, and they seem to really be, well, I mean, if you're American and you can reach out quite easily to millions and millions of people just within a couple of 100 miles of where you're based, whereas obviously in the UK you're kind of much more kind of limited. So yeah, me and Dave had a quick chat, and we kind of talked about the game there. So was it good fun?
Yeah, it was great fun, and we were playing a very, very basic version of it, but even then it was still mechanically, it was sound and interesting, and had a lot of depth and detail to it. So we kind of like put our names and emails on a bit of paper and forgot about it, and then it was a few months ago that I suddenly got this email that Temp Worker Assassins was finally going on Kickstarter. So
okay.
I kind of thought, well, I've already played it, and I know it's
getting into, isn't it?
Yeah. So it was quite easy for me then to back it, and I think that's the only reason that I've backed stuff so far. It's stuff that I've either engaged with previously or I know quite a lot about, because my mouse hovered over a third thing recently. I don't know if you've ever played Burgle Brothers.
I've heard of it, yeah.
I always want to call him Tim Flowers, but he's not an ex-Leicester City goalkeeper. He's Tim Flowers, I think his name is. But he's kind of the one-man board game creator and designer, and he created this great game called Burgle Brothers, and it was on Kickstarter, and Chris got it, and it's wonderful. It comes in this cuboid box, this tiny cuboid box. It looks like a skyscraper, and you open it up, and it kind of unfolds and unravels to become this heist movie-esque board game across 3 different floors. And we both really enjoy it. Like it's a 1-player, 1 to 4 player cooperative robbery simulator. And he had a new game on Kickstarter called Fugitive.
All right.
And I sort of, I like his games, and I thought about it, but it was a mixture of, I can't really get a handle on how this game plays, and I'm just not in the mood for that kind of game at the moment. That, it was a hidden movement 2-player detective game, and it was partly that kind of, I kind of want to get hands on with something like this.
Yeah, you've got to experience it. There's difference if you've got, a lot of the Kickstarters have quite a few videos nowadays. If a campaign doesn't have at least 1 or 2 videos on it, with an explanation of how it plays, I think it kind of puts people off. Hidden movement games, Whitechapel, if you're looking into something like that.
Okay.
So that's a really good game that me and Colin played alongside Mr. Leo, and thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah. I mean, you get a feeling at the moment there seems to be a lot of miniature. The big companies, there seem to be a lot of miniature games, and just wondering where the Kickstarter's kind of going. But that's why I'm kind of interested in when something like Temp Worker Assassins kind of pops up, and I'm genuinely thinking, well, this actually looks different. The artwork on it's really, really nice, and I'm a bit arty myself, so that's kind of what attracted me to kind of get in contact with Dave and find out a little bit more about the game.
The miniatures thing is the next worrying. That's the thing. At the back of all of our minds is. So after we've done RPGs, the next logical step is surely going and doing miniature stuff. Pete is already wrestling with getting X-Wing.
X-Wing is good, but you're better with Armada.
Okay.
Just quite simply because X-Wing, the base set, you'll probably pick it up for about 25-30 quid, and you'll get 2 TIE fighters and an X-Wing. And I interesting. I think interesting. When I went to see my in-laws recently, I had a kind of a copy of X-Wing for the Force Awakens edition. I took that over, gave it to my nephew. We played it for the first time. He technically played a board game for the first time. He absolutely loved it, but it is only 3 ships.
So what do you get in Armada then? Do you get a?
You get a lot more. You get a couple of you get quite a few capital ships. You get a couple of little squadrons and stuff like that. So I think the replayability is a little bit longer. And I think what would happen with X-Wing is that you get X-Wing, and then you would end up getting a couple more X-Wings. Then you'd want a TIE fighter, and then you would want an A-Wing, then you'd want a B-Wing, and then you would want the plethora of different kind of ships that Fantasy Flight have introduced. Whereas what I've found with Armada is you can quite comfortably get away with a base set and maybe adding on one more expansion. And the way it's dropped in price at the moment, you can probably pick the whole thing up for about £55-60. So it's more expensive, but
how much about, because part of our approach to it is that neither of us, or me included, like, we're not that well versed or that interested in the Star Wars universe. So how much does the lore sort of imprint itself?
Not at all. No, not at all.
So
it is based around an old. Armada's quite new in terms of its mechanics, but it's kind of, they all have their foundation in a World War II flying game called Wings of War. That's where the X-Wing kind of system comes from. So you don't need to know anything. I mean, you'll probably ooh and ah a little bit around the ships if you know about the Star Wars kind of canon in the universe and stuff like that. But in all fairness, X-Wing itself has gone to the point of going to the expanded universe now and bringing in ships from places where you wouldn't even recognise. Whereas Armada seems to have stuck with it is basically like playing the big battle scene in Return of the Jedi. I mean, that is what it's like, and it can be. It's good fun, but you don't need to have. Yeah, you don't need to have massive amounts of information about it. It's quite tactical, strategic, and it's kind of good fun. But there's always the temptation with all these things to go out and buy more, I think. But Armada's good.
Okay. Awesome. Adds
So,
to wish list.
do that, and what we'll do is we'll make sure that your wish list is in the show notes. Now, normally we do finish up with shout outs, so I'm not going to make you sit here and listen while I go through kind of a big list of people that
I don't mind.
We should consider. No, I'm not. I don't want to do that when we have a guest of the show. We make sure we put the good doilies down, and there's custard creams or chocolate covered hobnobs that are gluten free, which is always good.
Even better.
Obviously, we've mentioned staying in a couple of times. It is kind of a group of guys getting together and just chatting about stuff that they like. It's yourself, there's Chris, there's Peter that rocks up, Dan,
sometimes Alex joins us, and there's Tom/Percival. He's got 2 names, it's quite confusing. So there's the sort of a cast of characters, would you put it that way? I think it's one of these I think I'm a fan, which is one of the reasons that I kind of got in contact with you guys to say, could somebody come on and have a chat with us, because I'm kind of a fan. And I think it's one of these podcasts that's worthwhile going back to the first couple of episodes, because it's almost like you get to know people's individual characters. Thanks.
Not that you won't have fun kind of jumping in just now, but it is almost like the stuff that you talk about it changes every week.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice to hear you talking about the kind of what's happening with the comics, the comic calendar. It's quite. When you're talking about crisps, when you're talking about going around and seeing people's mums, and the films that you've seen and the games that you've played, because you do drop in obviously board games and stuff like that as well. But, I mean, if people are interested in finding out about or checking out Staying In, where can they find you?
We do have a website, but that's kind of our podcast generator. We've got a Podbean site, but kind of the best place to find us is just on Twitter, probably. So @StayingInPod, and from there you can easily find out our own individual Twitter accounts, and from there you'll be the first to know when the next show is coming out, what we're speaking about, and what's going on, really. So @StayingInPod.
And if people are wanting to say hello to you, where can they find you?
At Mr.
If you want.
Go on. Yeah, of course I can. At Mr. Sam Turner, which is very good. It's, I was lucky to get that one before any of the other Sams.
Managed to get it before you. There's probably a Sam Turner out there that's cursing this, going, "Oh, so it's you that got my name," kind of thing.
And I have to call myself Sam Turner 01 or.
There you go, exactly. Sam Turner, Sparkly Blue 16.
99.
Thanks, Twitter, thanks for suggesting that, Twitter. Thanks a lot. For us, as normal, anything that you search kind of We're Not Wizards, we are We're Not Wizards on Facebook, we are We're Not Wizards on Twitter, we are We're Not Wizards on Instagram, we're on Stitcher, we're on Acast, we are on iTunes, but we never remember what the link is. And if you want to email us, though nobody does except people offering us SEO services from the subcontinent, then you can get us on either magic@wearenotwizards.com or .co.uk. This has been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be on.
Sir. It's been good. It's been very, very good fun. And yes, and say hello to everybody else.
I will do.
See them from me.
And if the spoilers didn't put you off too much, the next podcast is out on iTunes on the 1st of the month.
There you go. So there you go. Check it out. I do enjoy it. It's fun. It's not forcing opinions in your face kind of thing.
No,
which I always find is very good.
We all come from very different backgrounds. Like Dan openly admits that he's not really very much of a gamer, so he kind of sits back on the fence while we geek about Magic and Dice Masters and stuff. But strangely, he was the one who DM'd our Game of Dread and was absolutely excellent. Like he's just brilliant.
No, see, it's you with your Dice Masters, and it's him with his DM. He'll be wanting a pointy hat.
Yeah, he will be. I've got to DM the next one, so that's.
Well, that'll be good fun. We'll need to keep us informed of how that, that goes. That's fantastic. And for everybody else that's out there, just remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Sam?
I'm very tempted to do my bad Gandalf impression, but no, we're not.
Is it secret? Is it safe?
No, we're not wizards, you hobbits.
We're definitely not wizards. Get out of here. Fool of a took.
Fool of a took.
We just ruined the whole show. We're gonna have to change the name now. So it's a bye from me, and it's a bye from the fantastic Mr. Sam Turner.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.